Greetings. Welcome to Of Darkness and Light. My name is Daphne Garrido. I have long been a pupil of heartful learning. I have sought to heal myself from the inside out. I became a meditation instructor to share that journey with people earnestly. I realized when doing that by being authentic and brave, I could reach people in a way that was profoundly challenging to a very specific trigger, which is a trigger of insecurity. And it's a good fear. It's the kind of fear that when you push through it, you heal. It's the kind of fear that makes you step towards learning to approach. It's excitement rather than the kind of warning fear that keeps you out of dangerous situations. And I learned to leap at that over again. It became a fixation on healing through bravery and vulnerability and authenticity. And I was doing the path of someone who would become a yogi and a meditation instructor and a spiritual, emotional healer person. And my journey led me to accept that I had to transition to be a right foundation with myself, to reach a higher place of connection to spiritual truth and healing. And it happened on a Christmas morning because I am a person who feels that holiday energy when tapped into it, and loved sending messages to people and just wishing them a happy Christmas. If they were one of the kinds of people that were raised into having that emotion overtake their heart on a time of like ritualized familial sharing of love. And in that heart feeling, I cried, and I remembered all the prayers, all the times I looked up what might lay ahead approaching gender transition. And I had literally been in spiritual ceremony with women twice. That December, there were a couple men spread between both of the circles. One of them I was the leader. Another one I was just taking part. And in both of them I shared a very honest truth, which was I was setting my intentions in that winter solstice, approaching it, and then I think just after, to embody my femininity in a way that was unashamed. And still, even when I was saying that, I was talking very honestly with these people. I said, I would like to uncode the ways I speak and move and act present myself that are inauthentic. And I still didn't know. Even though I'm doing meditations with people live on Zoom calls, connecting with all of these people, having us have these heartful connections about being authentic, presenting as a boy the whole year before that and some, a couple years before that. I was doing a meditation every Wednesday or Thursday night for such a long stretch of time. And I had people joining me every single Thursday night to have this like heart-fueled, it's you, not me kind of thing. And it was just me doing a meditation. And I was pre-recording them and editing them to music and then speaking a little bit and then playing them. And then I started doing them live. And I was like, well, this is better. But that whole time I'm doing these manifestation meditations of like trying to imagine my authentic self in the future and draw them towards me, and I could never see them. And then I'm crying and I'm just not feeling loved in my relationship with somebody who's holding space with me in those ceremonies, who people love more than me. And she's not into women, but we tried and it didn't work. And then beforehand, I was always crying about not being held or appreciated or honored for my heart, and wanting to transition. Even when I was doing heartful ceremonies with people, there were times that I prayed still as an adult, married, to wake up in a different life, in a different body. And it hit me on that Christmas morning. I need to love myself. I need to be myself. I need to listen to when my heart screams those loudest songs of love for me. And that started with owning that I wanted to do hormone gender transition since I read about it when I was 20 years old. And I've wanted nothing more, and I've hated everybody the whole time since, because I knew there was no place for me to exist healthily having done that. Knowing that spiritual new age community that was my loving community of support is by and large gender essentialist. And that even within that community, conversations about gender and sex are confused. There's not an understanding, cultural understanding of gender before trans and queer people began to define it by naming things from the inside out and being like, this is something I am, this is what I'm calling myself. Not to insult that, just to say that that's what's happening. We've lost even the search for the yin and the yang, right? The entire concept of gender is either embraced as a notion of hardened binaries rooted most often in concepts of old, and people who find all of this to be a construction of society, right? And it's complicated, and people never solve this problem for themselves. They never work it out. Two-spirited people in Native American culture were honored for having a foot in both worlds, and a modern shaman, oracle, genie, witch, wizard, trans woman has even more insight because of the truth of hormonal biological realities and their effects on physiology and psychology. And so I have a lot to say, but people don't want to hear from a trans woman. That's a universal confirmation from my heater, everybody. That's a big one. It's a deeply rooted stigma. Think about men in your family. Think about men you've seen, like if you're an older person like me, think about somebody cross-dressing and playing a lady. How demeaning is that when it's done by like older family members and they're like ashamed, and sometimes you can tell they like it a lot, and it's just like this embarrassing thing. How embarrassing to have feminine expression in a male body. That's like the root of misandry. But then it also reflects in the expectations that women hold against men, to be a prototype of toxic masculinity and then blame them for it and then want it and hate it and love the way that it's set up and then kind of like manipulate and gaslight and own social hierarchy and leave men to just be like, okay, I'm not gonna deal with your whole mind fuck. I'm just gonna like use you back and hate you inside and go to my man cave. And then women of old were like, this is how it is. This is how you get married. And people like my mother and father were in these kind of relationships they hate, but then they project at the younger generations the people who are doing things that are better for themselves, because they're like, no, you don't get to live a better life for your heart. You don't get to love yourself. I hate myself. But that's the point, I suppose, that I've lost and will trail back to. We're going to do a little genie wizarding. My trans heart has once been loved in a way that was appropriate by action and focus and intention. And it's a woman's heart. And I'm convinced that having a woman's heart in a male-born body, raised to suffer with testosterone by its negative reflection into my psyche always, and the constant fighting against it, has allowed me to understand the plight that men go through, because I had to suffer it alongside them while being an outcast amongst them, while being punished worst of all for not abiding those superficial standards of macho masculine presentation that so many women pretend that they don't still have. And I'm going to be honest. cisgendered women, biological women, have the worst trans misogyny because they lump all of misandry and all of their self-facing misogyny in a mirror back at a target that shows reflection of their misunderstanding of gender in the first place. And womanhood is such an earned thing, falsely, that women seek to achieve a sense of through standards that make them feel intellectually raped, that to see someone claiming it for themselves who has not abided those standards or suffered the same exact way from the hands of misogyny is a highest traumatizing perpetrator to their psyche. And men are so much kinder to me, by and large. And I am a lesbian trans woman. And I can't find community space with women, even as a single intimate friend. I couldn't find a best friend. Not of appropriate measure. I mean nothing of harm to people of the queer community in Seattle. But I am different in many ways, and it is not a pick-me kind of way. I am a binary woman from a binary time that embraces the coding of my gender, that understands it both some product of innate archetypes embodied throughout nature and the universe, understanding that we've misrepresented those onto ideals that have become social containers, understanding that I have a male body and that I have in fact suffered quite horribly my whole life at the hands of women, cisgendered women, for being too soft-hearted, for being a pussy. You know how many girls and women call me a pussy? For not making the move on them that I felt would have been rapey. Sorry if that's hard to hear. But these are the standards put on men through misandry that make them hate women. That's why there's such a terrible, overbearing, disgustingly misogynistic lashing out by misogynistic people in response to the Me Too. Because they're like, now you're punishing us after making all the expectations that I feel put upon me by every woman I'm trying to find to share some love with. They're coming at me for everything, right? And then they're like, okay, but and then they said the wrong thing. But that's the thing. It's dude, did you read those? Matt Lauer had a button under his desk. That's disgusting. It's what? Yeah, anyways, Me Too is fucked, dude. But that's what I'm saying is I'm not allowed space by my actual peers. And I'm kind of forced into a space with people that don't feel like family or home. And there's nobody for me because the people that should be my family and home are infected by trans misogyny and that was even before I became schizophrenic, and it all got really bad. But I guess that's what we're really getting at here, is that we don't really know what gender is. We're going to have to accept that, Penrose. That's going to be a part of the definition of gender. Let's start with, we don't really know. Let's also start with, we have preconceptions culturally. And then let's add in, hey, my body understands it's a certain way from how I was raised, and that's okay. Then we add in, everybody gets their own interpretation, and they're all valid. And then we say, that's cool. How do we support everybody? And then we'll figure it out. I have a binary lens, but I think non-binary people are the way of the future. I think the best way to raise children is without any gender expectations at all, because science shows that kids are androgynous until they reach puberty in terms of the way that they have capabilities at things, and it's all social conditioning. So it's like, okay, let's break down the gender boxes for children, but we got to know some people are masculine men in their hearts. Some people are feminine women in their hearts. Some people are in that spectrum of in between. And it doesn't line up ever with our sex. And we have to separate the language. Gender and sex have to go back to being separate things. We've conflated them so much, we just were like, okay, we ruined it because we're all stupid. So they're just the same thing now, and it's nothing. And it just ruins understanding. Our language is important. We need to have grace, but like, that's a big one. I'm a male, dude, and I don't think I can change, like I changed my secondary sex characteristics. Male is sex to me, right? Female is sex. I've changed my secondary sex characteristics. I can't change my internal sex characteristics. Why would I want to presume that I am a female? I'm a male body. There are intersex people. There are all types of stuff. But like, I can't handle trans women anymore, when I really think about it, rejecting the term male. Just because people say things in a way that's mean doesn't mean we ban them, unless there's a real prejudice behind it. And like holistically. If we take away the words that mean things and then we conflate everything, everybody's turning into idiots. Because we use English and it's in our brains. But yeah, we need to rebuild community to not be about genitalia. It's insulting. We need to stop demonizing femininity in men, because you know what doesn't get demonized anymore? Masculinity in women. So it's time to even those stakes immediately. And trans women need you to face your superficiality towards beauty standards they cannot meet without being complete warriors, one way or the other. Look at that reflection. How much of the people who are really bothered by trans women, are bothered by the look of trans women? How many of those people would call out anyone referring to any cis woman? Ooh, I just said cis, it's kind of slurred. Cisgendered woman who was being called ugly or less than a woman because of beauty standards. How many of them would flip out and defend that person? So there's a major cognitive dissonance here. This is a layered beast. This is a layered beast. Because you've got a woman, a cisgendered woman, who's holding standards of beauty against herself from a lifetime of seeking validation and kind of like hating herself for it, but getting that validation and then being like, mine. And then seeing somebody like me and then simultaneously saying, femininity is not a performance. Womanhood isn't something you can put on a dress and be. Like, it's what I am. It's my genitals. It's my innards. It's my superficial presentation, which is what we're going to box you into, because you're having such trouble transitioning late in life with no help. That's why so many trans women get lost in kind of a really difficult presentation. They have no girlfriends. Nobody teaches us how to comb our hair. We have to be warriors every step of the way. And then some of us earn a place with someone nice. And we're women's hearts. And people treat us the worst. Let's think about this. Go on to X or don't. And trust me that when the people who brigade trans women go off, it's horrendous. It's beyond absurd. It is self-harm of the most, it's most apparent. It's just like, why on earth would somebody be punching down this hard at a known vulnerable class that has already been written in the books of the government as a child abusing class? Who doesn't feel a sadness mixed in with their feelings when they really look at a trans woman? Like me, who's got a big spirit, who shows her womanhood in unique ways, but challenges preconceptions and kind of makes you feel sad for her, right? That's a common feeling for people looking at me or trans women in general. I used to get that feeling. What if I told you I believe everybody has that feeling, even the people who are punching down in the highest of orders? It's just worse for them, and they block it out in a crazy self-harm, civilizational harm way. That's what everyone's doing. Everyone knows in their guts that trans women are living the saddest lives, and they want us gone for it. They don't want to look at it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to think about it. They definitely don't want to think about how they're bisexual and they want it, dude, but it's superficially challenging. And then I have to be brave and go in public with a trans lady, and I don't know. So anyways, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope you have a good day. Someone who has made it this far. We're friends. I'm looking at like rental assistance programs and things, and I'm having real trouble finding a solution for my unique situation. And I need some donations or I'm going to be homeless. And I know that sounds extreme, but I have a private homeowner renter situation. They don't have association with rental assistance programs. So I'm left with the city of Tequilas now that I'm in this corner and my family won't support me. I will not be foolish with money. I'm reaching out for help in every single way. I've emailed as many organizations as I could today before my body wanted to puke and I needed to do something more fun. Because I'm still fighting executive dysfunction. I'm just earning space from it one day at a time. And I'm able to do more and more to help myself. But I am in a tight spot. My power turned off today. And I had to pay the whole of my payment that came through from unemployment to just get it turned back on. And then I put a 60-day stay on having to do another payment. And I can get on an assistance program with them, but it's like a huge qualification program that then back pays. It's complicated. I can sell my car and I can pay rent, but it's the dumbest thing I'd ever do because then I'm screwed because I don't have and that's the thing, I don't really qualify for food stamps because my unemployment payment's too high. But it's like, if my situation's absurd, I don't have a bus around here. I'm in a corner of a neighborhood. And so it's like, getting food for me is not simple, and meal planning is not a good deal. And I'm doing my best, but it's so hard to find good food for my body and my brain that is not expensive as hell. And so I'm just like, what do I do? What do I do? Everything's too expensive. It stresses me out. I need bankruptcy. I really need somebody to help. And so if you're listening and you heard my pitches for guardianship and you're hanging around, it's getting easier and easier. I need a little donation. I need some donations, or I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't do the thing I was talking about. I'm being a performance artist, but I mean, there's a part of me that, if it comes down to it, fuck, dude, I can do that. It's sitting there. So, I just don't know what to do. And Tequila has one rental assistance program, and it's open one day a month, and it's open on the 2nd of March. And I have to apply at 9 a.m. And that's already days late for my payment. And I would much rather just get on a pace. It's just really, really shitty. It's just I've been coming out of a Penrose where I'm like, I need help. And nobody's been helping me. But I got down to the bottom of it in terms of my ability to do things myself because I know how to balance it now. I did some stuff that was really hard for me today. And then I wrote a first part of 4 Last Rites of Empire. And it's just the sickest thing I've ever written. It's so gut churning. It's like the Daphne mode where it's hey, this feeling's over here. This feeling's over here. But then it's they're even farther out and there's one up here. And you're just oh, it's the gut stretchiest thing I ever wrote. But then all of a sudden I felt better. And so I'm able to do more, and I'm making phone calls. I still hate using the internet and forums. They stress me out. My hands are going to my head because they stress me out so bad. But I've been calling and talking to humans, and I'm doing 2 a day, where it's I've got a bunch of places to call and seek help, and most of them are referring me to other places, but I'm taking better notes now, and I'm not letting it stress me out as much. But it's I need help. I need help if you're listening, and I need help soon because my family's not going to do it. They're lost causes. They're just gone from listening. They just don't care. So thank you.